during Shakespeare's time, during Queen Elizabeth I's times, everyone believed that everything was put in a certain kind of order, and that order is called a hierarchy. A hierarchy, a certain order from top to bottom, and this thing was known as the Great Chain of Being. Now, the Great Chain of Being was threatened by new and exciting discoveries in science and astronomy. So those things made people a little bit unsettled. But it was believed, first of all, that the Earth was the center of the universe. Scientists had only in recent years begun to discover that Earth was not the center of the entire universe. It was also believed that stars moved around it. And the belief was that in heaven, God ruled over archangels, and archangels are just more important, the most important angels, governing spirits. In this, on Earth, on our planet, there was an imposed order, and this is what's very important here. So society shows this order with its classes of people, from the highest to the lowest: kings, churchmen, nobles, merchants, and peasants. By the way, where's the student who wrote the fantasy story about the witches and the church and the Pope? Would you raise your hand, please? Student who wrote the story about the two witches, the church, and the Pope. Raise your hand, please. Mal, was that you? Anyhow, it was an absolutely magnificent story. Excellent story. It's full of conspiracy, and it was actually quite shocking. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoyed everyone's stories, but that was incredible. So there was an order from highest to lowest, and even animals had their order. Lion being the king of the animals, and even plant life, and even rocks. So obviously, with rocks and minerals, gold was at the top of the list. So this is how it looked. The great chain of being there. At the top was God, and then you have angels of different types. Stars, moons, kings, the church, the Catholic Church is called during that time. You have kings and princes, you have noblemen, then you have just men. This normally is, when it says men, that is normally divided up into different classes, such as merchants and business people, laborers, peasants, and so on. Then you have animals, lion, other animals belong beneath that. The plants, oak is the king of the plants, rose is the king of the flowers, and other types of things. So this was understood to be the divinely appointed order of the universe. Okay, right? Because to start with, Earth was the center of the universe, and God had made this order. And if anything messed this order up, then things would just kind of explode. Everything would go wrong. Now, where it usually would get disrupted is right in here. Kings and queens. Oh, it's going to do that to it. Let's try that again. kings and queens. Okay, it's not going to distort it. Because what would happen is someone would come along and assassinate a king or a queen or plot against them. And then when that happens, it was understood that God would be very upset. God would be very upset with someone messing with the order. And so he would introduce chaos into the world. There would be terrible wars, there would be diseases, there would be all sorts of terrible things that would happen. So we see Shakespeare reflecting that in his plays, and he does it several times. When someone messes with when someone disrupts the great chain of being, then bad things happen in the universe.